continue our review of the first quarter of the 21st century, we turn to one country that has been a story, well, really many stories, in and of itself. Our colleague Enda Curran takes us through
China's remarkable economy. You can see what is happening. America is nowhere to seen comparing China because they have some important things to understand. Watch this video fully.
remarkable transformation.
China joining the WTO in 2001 was probably one of the most consequential decisions, not just for China's economy, but for the world economy.
The WTO agreement will move China in the right direction.
So companies
John was there, you know.
could shift there
Bill
and
Clinton
both tap
coming
into
down
the
to the UN
Chinese
side.
market and, of course, export from China to the rest of the world.
The
You can see slowdown is not only in the developed countries.
slowdown is not only in the developed country. It will also
He is Justin Yifu Lin, former World Bank chief economist. It's at October 2008 video of him circulating.
become a sharp slowdown in the developing country.
The global financial crisis reverberated all around the world.
China is going forward with a $500 billion stimulus package.
Yes. $500 billion stimulus package. All right.
It will build schools and subways, power plants and hospitals.
China played a crucial role stepping up, spending that money, generating all of that demand and activity, and in that period, China did become the world's second biggest economy.
Yes, China did become the world's second biggest economy. You understand? China. China will spend $40 billion to establish the Silk Road Fund. This is November 2014, you can see.
The Belt and Road positioned China as someone who was willing to invest and a source of new capital at a time when capital was becoming scarcer. They invested into ports, they invested into rail networks, they invested into motorways. Well, China has been a victim of its own economic success in so many ways.
As you can see, China is developing so far and so fastly.
China moved up the value chain, then it became a threat to some of those Western economies that had been doing business with China in the first place.
We've been ripped off by China.
No longer are the doors just open for free.
Yes, you can see when Trump first became the president in September 2018, he said this.
Two-way trade.
We ripped off by China and China become the center from the Wuhan of COVID pandemic.
China had the virus under control, so they took opportunity and really took a leap in terms of electric vehicles and in lithium batteries.
Yes, April 2020, they made the batteries, electric vehicles, lithium, everything.
In particular, clearly, that window was
MI, Huawei, and so many BYD as the cars they are manufacturing.
when the rest of the world was caught napping. China was doing just fine. It wasn't until later when China started to impose restrictions on its real estate sector and its real estate sector started to slow down that you began to see some of the brakes being hit on China.
Yes, China's real estate sector, these buildings you see right here are all abandoned. China literally have a ghost town where millions of buildings are abandoned, you understand?
His economy.
The problem being that home buyers are afraid to buy homes, worried about distressed
This is all the charts you can see down.
developers not being able to deliver on the homes.
This is November 2023 video. China. Chang said cash recovery rates for China property bonds lower than non-property bonds.
A year later.
The slump has been going on for several years now, and I think it has taken some of the gloss off of China's economy for the rest of the world.
Afsani Beshlos of Rock Creek and Elizabeth Economy of the Hoover Institution have spent a good part of the last 25 years traveling to the Middle Kingdom and coming back to try to make sense of it for us. They looked back at some of the country's biggest changes and challenges.
Yes, what is the challenges of country and biggest changes he did?
Elizabeth, you've been going to China for quite a few years now. As we look back over the first 25 years of this century, how has China changed?
The transformation has been extraordinary, of course. I think if you look back to 2000, for example, China was an economy of $1.2 trillion.
Yes, $1.2 trillion at 2000.
GDP per capita was around $1,000, and it was making more bicycles than
GDP $1,000. They are bicycle economy, you can say, like of thing.
Cars. It was very much trying to adapt its domestic politics and economics to the demands of the international community. What we see today is pretty radically different from what we saw in 2000. Its GDP per capita now is $13,000. Of course, it's not making bicycles so much anymore as, the most EVs, electric vehicles in the world. And
Yes, most EVs are produced by China itself.
cutting edge electric vehicles, largest manufacturer, consumer, and exporter. Today, you have China saying, we're front and center, and we'd like the international community to adapt to us. So what you have is China no longer being a rule taker, but a rule maker.
Yes, China is the rule maker right now, as you understand.
You've just recently been in China. How does it feel on the ground, as it were, over there?
It is a tale of two Chinas in many respects. I'm driving around in Beijing.
Beijing is the city of buildings.
There's no traffic. There's a kind of gray pall.
You can see this is the kind of pathways, I mean highways, roadways they make. There's no traffic. It's all smoothly following.
That seems to have settled over the city. The economic activity is not what you might expect. You don't see cranes dotting, the landscape, a lot of new building and enthusiasm. You don't
She is the Elizabeth Economy Hoover Institution Senior Fellow.
have the sense of a dynamic economy, but when you meet with Chinese officials and you meet with Chinese tech leaders, you definitely have a sense of confidence. And the Chinese officials believe that they have a model that works, and that model is investing in technology.
Yes, investing in technology, robotics, and everything that lead the China to bigger, better the country.
I visited an EV factory where they're producing 300,000 EVs in a year, and they only have
300,000 EVs in a year.
2,100 people on their factory floors, and the factory is spotless. You could eat off the floor. It's extraordinary, and they are very confident. They're confident about their ability to compete with the United
So 2,100 people only to making these things.
States. They're confident that they're on the right trajectory. Again, though, I think for the broader, swath of Chinese people, consumption is not rebounded. They're not feeling it. This is very much an economy of haves and have-nots. And the haves are moving ahead very aggressively.
One of the things we've seen over the last
You can see these things like literally.
25 years is a migration, first of all, into the middle class, from the rural into the urban setting. Is that continuing?
I think it's one of the interesting things that we haven't seen the middle class continue to expand, and the Chinese are just beginning to wake up to the
Yes, Chinese are just beginning to wake up about all the things and they want to go higher and higher.
fact that artificial intelligence and their move toward robotics, they already have 250,000 robots. I think we have about 10,000, in their factories operating. They're going to put people
250,000 robots, robotics and AI. Also, Elon Musk said, yes, Elon Musk, world's richest person.
a lot of work. And so
He said that robotics and AI is the future.
one of the factories that we visited was an autonomous vehicle factory, and the person who was taking us on the sort of tour of the factory said that they are now being told by the local government that they're going to need to help find jobs for the people that their autonomous vehicles supplant. At the same time, the local government's not allowing them to charge any more than regular taxi drivers or Didi drivers because they don't want those people to go out of work. So I think they
Yes, this is the same thing. They are trying to get the economy safe also, but the technology exposure too.
they have not figured out how they're going to manage the technological change and the demands for employment.
How much success has China already had in reshaping the international community?
I would say much less than we might anticipate. It doesn't seem as though much of the rest of the world is interested in trading the current international system for a China-led international system. That being said, if you're looking for Chinese technological influence or economic influence globally, certainly the Belt and Road and the Digital Silk Road have been transformative. Look at Huawei, which
Oh my God, this is the Huawei car franchisee.
has 70% of the 4G in Africa. Their satellite system now rivals GPS. So I think they can look at any number of metrics and say, we've had a success. At the same time, of course, there have been protests in virtually every Belt and Road country about how China's done business.
All right, so they are trying to diminish them.
Interest and the desire, the willingness to have Chinese investment stems from the fact that they can't get that kind of investment from any other country. So I think, if we were to go in and really be competitive, for example, in Africa, in this idea that we're going to promote our tech stack globally.
All right, the Chinese are everywhere. If you just travel around the world, you see Chinese are everywhere.
I think we'd be welcomed.
Do we understand in the West just how far ahead China is getting in some respects in technology and manufacturing?
I think most people think of China as producing consumer goods, their toys,
Yes, not consumer goods. There's something big you never assume.
basic goods. And that is the way they started. But today is a whole other world. So what is happening is most of us are now reliant on.
Yes, and for the reference, he is Afsana Besklaas, Rock Creek founder and CEO.
Not just their basic ingredients being made, but the new molecules being developed in China, EV cars, let's say. The batteries that they are producing.
Lithium batteries they are producing, they only have rare earth element, only China have it.
Are so far ahead than the ones we're producing. So they are jumping ahead in ways that we did not expect. They might have less power constraints, the way they're building nuclear plants and the way they're using clean energy and renewable energy, the opposite of what we're doing in the
Yes, it's very opposite of what we're doing. They have solar power plants.
US. And that's because the government in China is putting so much capital to work.
Yes, government is the main reason China is growing at this fast pace rate.
Alongside the private sector, something that in the most recent past we're not doing.
What has that enormous move forward for China as an economy, as a government, meant for the people of China?
So if we look at the people of China, when this whole process started 20, 25 years ago, there was hope. They were growing fast, double-digit growth. A lot of opportunities.
Yes, so many of them thought that China is gonna become the bigger one. But now see what is happening.
For people to get new jobs, move from agriculture to industry into cities, and get out of that extreme poverty. And right now, what's happening because of their overcapacity, let's say, if you're producing EV cars, you might be getting paid less because they have the overcapacity. You're lucky to have a job. So the situation for the individual may not have got better.
Yes, individual situations are not better, but the overall country situation is much more better than you see from the outside.
But China as a whole continues to do well. I think one thing that I found very
That's the exact same I said before.
interesting is we in the US always say China should start consuming more. And if they consume more, they will export less. We will have less of a problem. And
That's what everyone says, but China is the export king, you know.
and they will deal with their growth with domestic consumption. What is very clear with President Xi, but also really maybe people who came before him, they're not interested in domestic consumption.
Yes, they are not interested in this.
They're interested in world supremacy. As
Yes, world supremacy, they need world to take down.
has become evident. So you need to do the quantum, you need to do the AI, you need to be ahead on robotics, you need to be ahead on producing things so that you control your own destiny.
Yes, your own destiny also. This means you control the whole world.
But potentially you control other people's destiny. And I think that's what we've missed, really realizing ourselves here.
How have Chinese relations with the United States and with the West changed over these 25 years?
Obviously, when we had the Nixon and the Kissinger period and the opening up and WTO, it was the West hoping that China would open up to
Yes, China is open up with us, but it's obviously.
US goods and to a more liberal democratic system. And as one went to China and you would talk to your Chinese counterparts, it was always a very open dialogue. What has been very different the last few years is that China has become more closed. If there's one thing that is changing with the Chinese, because they've always been very careful in how they show their hands to the rest of the world, they are showing more overconfidence than
Yes, they are overconfident. They are showing.
before. The other thing is that if you sit in China today, who would expect that the US would be kneecapping its own universities, its own research, its own biotech, is investing less in technology at scale, is not investing in nuclear power?
Yes, all right. This is the main thing. And Chinese people are very high in IQ as well, intelligent.
And is not working with its allies. So in a way, that's, if you're sitting in President Xi's seat today, you see a lot of potential.
Yes, lot of potential right there. China is really something to look about.